Yo, what's going on, man? It's Jason Capital, and welcome back to the next cause of success. The second cause of success, the cause of default setting. So what is the default setting? All right, well, your default setting is the state that you wake up to and you go to sleep in. I'll repeat that. It's the state you wake up to, the mood you wake up to, and you go to sleep in. When all else is variable and everything else is whatever, okay? Your default setting is the natural mood that your body simply just returns to by default, okay? It's just how you feel most of the time. So the big story moments for me with default setting was, number one, when I first decided I wanted to learn game, before I would go, I knew that there's a girl who worked at a certain store. I'm going out and I'm going to talk to these girls tonight. Before I would go out, I would do all kinds of things, different tools that I'm going to share with you in a second, to put myself into a really good state. Put myself in a really good state. So, maybe I don't feel this good all day long, but for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to ride off that state and I'm going to talk to that girl. And because I feel amazing, because I feel excited, because I feel confident, because I feel so fucking good, like I deserve her, because I feel all those things, the game, the words, the flirting coming out of my mouth made that really easy. Then once you get that, you say that to the girl, she gives you the positive response. She likes what you're saying. She's laughing. She's giggling. It's not very hard to feel good when a girl's telling you how awesome you are, right? So what happened was, though, I did that so often that I would, soon enough, I didn't have to get myself all pumped up before I would go talk to a girl or before I went to the store or to the bar or whatever. I was just there. It was my default setting. My default setting was just really playful and challenging. It was there because I did it all the time, because it was the mood I was in most of the time. I had made it my default setting. Second thing, you read my daily newsletter. I've written over 600 of them. I wrote over 1 million words last year just in newsletters alone on dating, science, and attraction and success. And over time, writing that newsletter every single day, very Kaizen of me, every single day, when I'm writing that thing, a lot of guys tell me they feel the passion, the emotion, the energy, the excitement coming through those fucking words. Okay, and the reason they can feel that is because when I'm writing it, I'm not just writing it. It's not a passive experience. It's an active experience. I'm writing it, and if at any point I feel like I don't feel as good as I can, I'm not in that amazing state, I stop, I step away from the laptop, and I do something to put myself back in that amazing fucking state that I want to be in. And then I get back to it, and then the words, they jump off the page again, right? And what I noticed was, the more I did that, the more it was how I'd wake up and I'd write the newsletter and I'd be right there. But I don't have to re-up all the time anymore. I'll write the whole newsletter start to finish without doing it once, because I'm there the whole time. Because before I'd be there, and when I wasn't there, I'd shoot myself back up, and now, been here long enough, I just stay here, right? And I could raise the standard if I wanted to even higher. I also noticed that the more that I had my default setting, this is how I feel all the time, the more it was chosen for by me, my emotions or my state was not at the mercy of anyone else. It was always at the cause of myself. The far less that it could be affected by anyone or anything else. My state is my state now, my default setting. It's not like some thing out of the world that was by chance. You feel good some days, you feel bad. Once you make your state, your default setting, that is how you are all the time. You're in that mood all the time. That's just how you are. Your default setting, it's impenetrable, right? Other people, they feel really good, you can still fuck with them, right? And they can lose that state. But if it's your default setting, if you know how to create it and you created it for yourself, no one can touch that shit. So, two biggest realizations I had from this was, one, every other cause of success, it goes up when you're in a strong, positive, attractive, excited, playful, challenging, self-loving kind of state. I'll show you right now real quick. Look at this. So when your default setting goes up, when you feel amazing, if you were to remember a time right now where you just felt fucking amazing and excited and so happy about life, I bet in that moment you had a really strong self-image. You feel amazing, you see yourself as amazing, right? And when you feel amazing, your standards are super high. You feel amazing, you're like, I could do anything right now. Okay, but imagine if you felt like that all the time. Imagine if that state of, I could do anything right now, was your default setting. Your vision gets bigger. You have more momentum, to take the Kaizen, to take the action every day. And in your environment, you're going to naturally start attracting the people who feel like that too. And you're going to fucking repel all those bitches who don't, all right? Shit's important. So, that was the first thing I realized. And the second so that the state you're in most often becomes your default setting, right? And imagine the work you would get done, the game you would spit, the happiness you would feel if you were always in a really good mood, if you were always in a top mood, and if you knew how to control it. It'd be fucking amazing, right? So understand the state you're in most often becomes your default setting. So now when I work, I call people who are like, well, Jason, you work so fucking hard. How are you like always so playful and like relaxed about shit and just like fucking cool about stuff? It's because I don't work, I work hard on it. I work fun. That's how I see it. Okay, I work fun. Most people, when they're working, they're fucking, it's drudgery, it's painful, it's like gray concrete, they don't like it. But me, the way I'm working is I got music playing. I'm like seeing these pictures in my mind. I'm fucking dominating shit. I'm excited the whole time, right? I've associated work with fun. I can work all day now because it's not work, it's just fun. I work fun, right? Another one is my buddy Elliot Holtz. Actually told me he used to do this, which I thought was awesome because it talks about his default setting. But he used to set a timer, a stopwatch on his wrist. So even when he was in his gym training clients or working whatever, whenever this thing went off, which was every hour, he'd have to stop. He'd go outside and he would do incantations, Tony Robbins style, for like 2 or 3 minutes every single hour. And because he'd do that, he'd get the re-up, he'd feel great, he'd go back to work. But he did that all day long. And eventually, the state he was in most often becomes his default setting. So he's constantly putting himself in a successful state. Eventually, that becomes his default setting. Success becomes his default setting, right? Dean Martin, great example. He was playful, teasing with everyone he came into contact with. Eventually, that became his default setting by the time he was like 25, which later on, right, made him the highest paid person in Hollywood ever when he had the Dean Martin show in the late 60s, early 70s. Tony Robbins, this is a joke I have with some friends, but when he does these like 7-day seminars, right, he's like on stage for like 12 hours, he doesn't leave once. And everyone in the audience is like, hold on. When does this motherfucker pee? When does he piss? I haven't seen the guy go to the bathroom once, right? Well, it doesn't fucking matter. His default setting is I fucking piss glory. You've seen me on stage pissing glory for 12 hours straight, all right? In this great Maxwell Maltz book, it's called The Magic of Self-Image Psychology, he talks about that there's this random successful farmer in the fucking, like in the woods somewhere that one of his friends was telling me about, and the guy whistles all day. And the reason his friend was telling about him, he's like, dude, this guy is the happiest man on earth. I've never seen anyone happier. He's just always happy. The reason is because the whistling, as I'll show you in a second, had become an anchor for his happiness. He didn't realize he was doing it, but he was whistling because it put him in a good mood. And he did it long enough that eventually that good mood became his default setting. All right, all successful people do this, whether they know it or not. The farmer had no idea he was doing it, but he was putting himself in that great mood all the time, which became his default setting. But for instance, my mentor, who's going to see Warren Buffett in a couple months at the Berkshire shareholders meeting, he's going there on purpose because he knows when he's there in that environment, it's going to raise his default setting. He calls it, he's going to get a 30-day high from it, just being around all those successful people in that environment. And that 30-day high is going to propel him to a higher level of default setting because when he comes home, he's higher up now, right? He's more motivated, he's more inspired, talk about standards, and that's going to keep him there long enough so eventually it makes an impact on his default setting. All right, so here's how I install my default setting. It's 2 steps. Number 1, you simply need to decide what default setting it is you want for yourself, right? I advise simply positively aggressive, okay? That is my default setting that I want to be in. I want to be positively aggressive. I want to be taking action on my fucking path, but I want to be super positive, playful, teasing, challenging, attractive while I'm doing it, while I'm challenging, while I'm raising everyone else up around me, right? So once you decide what it is you want for yourself, number 2, here are the various tools that you can use, okay, to re-up anytime you don't feel like you're in that state to get yourself there. So for instance, if that's my state I want, and I'm there 40% of the time, but there's random instances throughout the day where I feel myself dropping, or I don't feel as motivated, or I don't feel as positively aggressive, then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to pick one of these, and I'm going to use it for a minute or 2 or 10 seconds or whatever it is. I'm going to put myself back in that amazing state, then I'm going to go back to doing what I need to do. And I do it long enough, I do it over time, it becomes my default setting. So again, I use probably 20% of these 80% of the time. There's like a couple that are my go-to, but here's what they are. Throughout the day charges. So anything physical that you can do that's like really up there is going to put yourself in a great state. Tony Robbins says, emotions create emotion. So a huge cut. If I go like this and I go like this, I'm excited now. If I start barking, if I go, arr, arr, look at me. I'm all happy and giggly and smiling now. It puts you in a good state. Listening to really good music, dancing to it, physical acts of dancing puts you in a good mood, right? So all those things, all right? That's number 1, the physical stuff. There's the momentum, right? If you wake up, you get 3 small victories to start your day. 3 things on your checklist. You're like, boom, boom, boom. that starts to give you some momentum. That puts you in a really good state. Health focused, eating really healthy. All right, I wake up, I make a cocktail first thing I do. Turmeric liquid, it's a vitamin D liquid. It's this stuff called Power Immune by Futura. It's got like echinacea and St. John's worts and garlic, onion, calamities, things. I don't know. Put all of it in there, take a shot of it. Tastes fucking disgusting, but bro, I feel amazing after, right? That's part of me being in that state. I drink green juice all day. I keep my diet really healthy. Internal looping. So a great one, okay? Certain thoughts you can repeat to yourself. You've read The Capital Secret. You know all about this, that put yourself in that good state. So for instance, you feel yourself falling off, right? Like you're not, maybe there's something you want to get done for work, but you're not doing it. If you just go, you recognize it, you be self-correcting, you go, oh shit, hold on, let me fix this real quick, let me get back in that good state. Then step back and say to yourself, loop it 10 times, it's like comfortably. Not like I'm the kind of guy who works really hard, but like, I'm just the kind of guy who just like always, even when he doesn't feel like it, he gets the shit done he needs to. I'm just the kind of guy who, when he doesn't feel like it, just gets, you say that 10 times, puts you in that really good state. And by the way, a little tip, if you say that stuff, the looping, while you nod your head, like, okay, it actually triggers it deeper, because when we nod our head, this is our physical way of saying, yes, I'm just the kind of guy who fucking succeeds and makes $1 million and fucks tens and is awesome and drinks green juice, okay? Nod the head. Looks weird, works. What pictures are you seeing in your mind? If you see really positive pictures in your mind, that is going to increase your default setting, right? Let's say you're working on some big project, right? And you kind of lose motivation for it. You put yourself in a shitty state. If you all of a sudden, you go, hold on, I'm gonna put myself in a good state. I'm gonna do it with pictures this time. You imagine yourself succeeding with that program, whatever it is you're working on, that thing you're working on, and you see yourself succeeding with it as high as you possibly can, like the best amount. You see the best version of it, it's going to actually raise your state up, because if you fell and you kind of fell apart, you probably started imagining it in the not most positive way. So you just change the pictures in your mind. This is Maxwell Maltz, by the way, his favorite way to do it. He says, if you're not in a good state or whatever, then just simply change the pictures in your mind. Just like predict the future to look really good instead of like mediocre. It's going to raise your default setting. Music, dancing, character modeling, right? Pretend you're a certain character, someone who has certain traits you want that maybe feels and acts a certain way. Just pretend you're them for a minute. You notice you'll pick up their habits. More importantly, you'll pick up their feelings. And you do it enough, again, you stay at that state long enough, becomes your default setting. If you're surrounded by people who kick ass, that's going to raise your default setting. We talked about momentum. And again, the key to remember is just being self-correcting. Okay? You're going to wake up usually in a good state once you have this. If you ever fall down, you just pick one of these. I usually just make I'm physical. I just get the movement going, raising myself back up. I get right back to it. If at any point I drop, I pick myself right back up using one of these tools. And eventually, the drops become lower. They don't happen as deep, and they don't happen as often. And eventually, it's just your default setting. Okay, and once you have this, again, just imagine, what is your life going to be like when you feel positively aggressive, confident, playful, challenging, attractive, self-loving, leading, dominant, everything? What's going to happen when you feel like that all day long? When you wake up, when you feel like that when you're talking to that girl, when you feel like that when you're working on that thing, when you feel like that when you're setting that huge vision? You have more belief in yourself or less belief in yourself? Are you more likely to succeed all day long if you feel amazing or if you feel mediocre? All right? So there it is. Cause number 2 of success, your default setting. I'll see you in the next one. Peace, man.